everybody. Jeff Antoniuk here from Jazzwire. Welcome to Guided Listening this week. So I'm excited about this one. This is a really awesome tune. It's really aptly named. This is a Joe Henderson composition, The Kicker. And this is from a wonderful album of his, 1968. And it's Joe, it's Mike Lawrence on trumpet. An amazing trumpet player. I couldn't believe when I found out he was 21 years old on this recording. He died way too young at the age of 37. Gratian Moncur III on trombone. Did I even pronounce that right? I'm not sure. Lewis Hayes on drums. Kenny Barron on piano. Ron Carter on bass. And so this is a blues that Joe wrote called The Kicker. And so we'll get into it, but there's a lot of very cool stuff here in this short recording. I want to invite you to a webinar I'm doing, if you're watching this in real time, next week, next Wednesday, I think it is, October 10, 2024, and it's through the Jazz Educators Network. I do some work with the Jazz Educators Network. I'm presenting at their conference this year. I'm hosting adult jam sessions. Jazzwire is a corporate sponsor. So if you're going to be at the Gen Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, January 2025, you're going to see me there, and there's going to be a lot there for you, adult musicians. And so I'm doing a webinar next week on jazz articulation. So I don't have the link to share with you, but if you write us here, we will send you the link when we have it. It's free of charge. I'd love for you to join in and ask questions and get the handouts and everything. So that'll be fun. Thank you to the Gen folks for inviting me to do this. So Joe Henderson, The Kicker. Now this is 1968. So this is, I guess I'm going to call it post-bop. What does that mean? I probably should have looked up the definition, but I got my own definition. It's bop, right? It's bebop and that language, and it's major and minor and dominant chords, and it's everything we know. It's the blues. It's all that kind of stuff. And so it's sort of expanded thinking on it. So, and yeah, I know there's better post-bop definitions, but we're going to go with me because I'm talking right now. One of the things we hear on Blue Note albums, and that's, we can associate that with post-bop, is getting a little more compositional. Bebop was using a lot of show tunes. We would play over rhythm changes all the time. We would play over How High the Moon, Ornithology, right? So jazz composition. So sure, Joe wrote this song. Now it's a blues, but he changed the harmony of the blues in some pretty interesting ways, but it's still a blues. He added an intro to it. He added an ending to it. He added a kicker or a send-off at the beginning of the solos. Now he didn't invent that. That comes from big band kind of playing. But it's not, sort of I don't want to say basic. It's not a foundational kind of blues the way we would hear Charlie Parker or Bud Powell playing a blues. It's a little bit expanded. So there's so much more to post-bop than that. But we hear some great solos here, some really driving playing from Ron Carter on bass, Lewis Hayes on drums. Some just fantastic solos. Like I was saying, the trumpet solo. I've always loved this solo and didn't really know much about Mike Lawrence. Why don't people talk about this guy? Well, he passed away, like I said, at the age of 37 from cancer. But this is him at 21, just tearing it up. So he's on a number of Joe Henderson albums, which is how I know his name. So I tell you what, let's jump into it. You're going to hear some really cool harmonies between the three horn players, which reminds me of Horace Silver, or Horace Silver heard this and borrowed this, but Joe played with Horace Silver played with Joe. I want to say Horace Silver actually recorded this Joe Henderson tune. So there was a lot of, shared knowledge between those guys. Here we go, Joe Henderson, The Kicker. Oh yeah. Horace Silver, right? That vibe? So the rhythm section has some parts. A lot for the rhythm section to be paying attention to, not just playing and swinging. Here's the send-off. Now we're into the blues. Woo. guys are swinging for the fence. That is so swinging and so interactive and energetic, right? Listen to Lewis Hayes kicking so hard. Next solo. Woo. I'm going to learn that. I'm just listening into the drumming and how much Lewis Hayes is playing, but how it's kicking the band ahead. It's not in their way. Barron. And now Lewis Hayes is still driving, but he's doing less on the snare drum and less loudly behind the piano. More about the cymbal. I like the mix of the drums. It's kind of easy to hear the bass drum, the snare, the toms. And man, he's really highlighting the form. Like the top of every 12 measure phrase, he's letting us know where that is. That one's more subtle, but it's still a crash cymbal. It's a lot of the snare drum, some of the toms, but all that great rudiment playing he's doing. Bass drum in there. Listen to how melodically Lewis Hayes is playing. And the ending is same as the intro. Oh man, that is so awesome. Woo! I'm out of breath listening to that. Those guys were swinging for the fences so hard, but it didn't strike me as overplaying or overbearing or anything like that. It was just so driving. So that feel, it was like, just this huge dog on a leash that wanted to get away, but it didn't rush. It didn't feel anxious. Just that feel was, astounding. Really great solos. There's stuff in Mike's trumpet solo that I really want to steal. Some really interesting shapes and angularity that sort of catch my ear. So I was talking about the post-bop thing, and one of the big things for a rhythm section player going from bebop to post-bop is if you're a bass player in bebop, you're pretty much walking the bass line. Here's the changes, here's the form, and you walk. When you're a drummer, you're swinging, right? And yeah, there may be some little hits with the melody we catch, but as we get into the compositions of post-bop, they became much more demanding on the rhythm section. The rhythm section is now really involved melodically, whereas it was sort of an option in bebop to be involved melodically, right? So there's all sorts of stop time and hits. There's places where the horns do a hit and Lewis Hayes doesn't answer, and he did it the exact same way 4 times, head twice in, twice out. So whether Joe wrote that for him or Lewis more likely is a good musician and he knows I'm going to respond to these guys. And he figured out the response and decided, yeah, that's a good response 4 to 4 times. So that's something that we hear more in post-bop music, is more room for the rhythm section and more demands on the rhythm section. So it's pretty fun for rhythm section players to start playing these tunes. So yeah, it was just a rollicking blues. But you know, so much in front and behind it, the intro, the ending, the harmony parts, the rhythm section, that it sounded like so much more. It was so much more, but underneath the hood, that was a blues tune. So fantastic band. I listened to that album a lot when I first got it. This is going back 20 some years. So I'm glad, actually one of my in-person masterclass groups, I've got 14 different groups filled with adult students like you, people who are playing on the side here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania area. 14 of these groups, I teach 8 of them. I have other faculty, David Jernigan and Steve Herberman, who teach some of the groups. And one of the groups is actually coming with me. 3 of the groups actually are coming with me to the Jan conference in Atlanta this January. And so one of the groups, this is one of the tunes they're going to be playing. So it was a great reminder of this arrangement. It's been fun playing this and studying it with them. Thought I'd bring it over here to you. So hope you enjoyed it. Check out that album. It's called The Kicker. The song's called The Kicker. And yeah, what a lot of fun. Okay, hope you had a good time. I'll see you here next week.